Hey, good morning everyone. Frank Valkyria here. Welcome to the channel. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for joining me today. And I want to do a deeper video, going a little deeper on the issue here surrounding Captain Marvel, if there is any actually. But before watching the movie, I try to stay away from all the things and the noise. I saw a couple interviews and videos about it, so I get the idea. But I tried to stay away because I wanted to see the movie being unbiased. I didn't want it to be polluted by other people's perception or idea, and especially when it comes down political ideology, which I think the movie it's been a little bit tainted by that. We know that Marvel decided to advertise this movie as a feminist movie, and I also understand why. Of course, it's a superhero female, so it's gonna bode well with all the female audiences around the world, so it makes sense to try to depict it in a way of empowerment and unity and equality. So that by itself are all nice things. They're all nice things. But when you try perhaps to shovel down the throat of people, then we're gonna have a problem, because on the political sphere, of course, people are charged up emotionally, and it's been always like that. It's always been like that when people have to defend their own ideology, and when a movie is thrown into the mix, into the fight, so to speak, I think the one losing are the audience itself, themselves. Because of course, if you start to see the movie from your political bias, like you are a left-winger, extreme left-winger, or you are a right-winger, or you're a sympathizer of extremist right-wingers, or you're a liberal, or you are a conservative, there is all level of this. There is all level of this, and you jump into sifting the movie with that high to try to find everything that it's not working, or it's not sort of speaking to you, magnifying every single word or line or behavior, and there's going to be a lot of irritation for sure. That's why I didn't want to go in and watch the movie in that way, listening to everybody telling their story of why she's not a strong female character, or why she's a strong female character, or why it's important that it's a feminist movie, or why it's not important because it's alienating a part of the male audience, whatever. And I think, again, the issue here is the political bias. If you jump into this movie just for what it is, a science fiction superhero comic based movie, then you'll enjoy it. The movie is actually pretty good. It's not as bad as some people make it to be. If you put it into perspective, there's so many good moments. Of course, there is always a way to improve a movie. You can always be more critic and see where they could have done better, in your opinion, or in my opinion, or in the critic's opinion. That's fair. That's the same thing for every movie. I'm trying to stay a little bit generic because, again, I don't want to ruin the fun for anyone. And I'm gonna, spoiler alert, I'm gonna talk a little bit into details about the movie that I just watched yesterday, because again, I think that actually it's a pretty good movie. Regarding Brie Larson, she does a good job. The movie starts slow, but then it picks up and it becomes more relatable and enjoyable. The connection between Nick Fury and her, it's pretty good. I really enjoy it. It's more like a sort of a duo couple type of comedy, that just being Captain Marvel on her own. It was nice to see so much of Nick Fury on stage. And also, some people criticize the fact that he isn't as Nick Fury-ish as we have learned to love him in the Avengers movie or in the other movies. But to me it makes a lot of sense, because this is a younger version that hasn't gone through some of the things that he will go through in growing in life, so it makes sense that he has a fresher approach. And I like that. I like that fresher, goofier approach to his character. I don't see that as a downer, because you come in with your perception that Nick Fury has to stay Nick Fury, all leather, black, menacing and scary. Here he didn't lose the eye yet. He's still growing into this character, so it makes sense that it's a little bit fresher. I could really enjoy that. Captain Marvel, the only issue that I have with her is that I wish that they spend more time in the Genesis phase. I wish they had shown us a little bit more her vulnerability, a little bit more in depth. I give you an example. When the movie started, she's already on the Kree planet and she's being trained by the Jude Law character, which is her mentor. We reminisce a little bit about that sort of connection between Morpheus and Neo in the Matrix, but the difference is that in the Matrix we see the genesis of Neo from being like basically a nerd worm computer software writer, pale and a little bit scared and frustrated, to this guy that all of a sudden discovers that he has potentials. And then, you know, in that mentorship moment, it binds really well because those characters have been developed a little further. Unfortunately, with Captain Marvel, we don't get that. It goes a little bit too quick. We have some flashbacks of when she's a kid with their father, I think, in the go-kart scene. So we see her struggling growing up, and it's also something that left me a little bit confused that I want to go back and watch again, because it seems that Captain Marvel, correct me if I'm wrong, because I have no clue about the comic. I come in with this fresh take on the cinematic universe, not being connected to the reality of decades of comics they've released. So I don't know, to me it seems that Captain Marvel is a human that then got exposed to this explosion, which I also go there into a moment in detail, and then it becomes sort of like this strange creature, and it's taken by the character of Jude Law on their planet and being trained, and then she goes back to Earth. So her origin seems to be from planet Earth as a jet pilot fighter, and that, you know, I wish that spend a little bit more time, if that's the case, to develop the depth and show us a little bit more vulnerabilities, because she's powerful and she keeps being more powerful throughout the movie, and that's awesome. I really actually also wish that they showed a little bit more kicking asses and that power. We get some of that, but not a lot, like I said yesterday. And again, would have been nice to see a little bit more of her vulnerabilities, because that makes it more relatable and more lovable, instead of being right away always so strong and unfazed by everything. So that's the only real issue, but that's a mistake that sometimes, you know, like it can be seen in a lot of movies, you know. We could argue also that Black Panther was a great success for whatever reason, but it's also not as great as the numbers make it to be, or the hype makes it to be. You know what I mean? We could argue that as well. And we could also argue like that if you don't go in with the political bias, or if you go in with that sifter through also some of the older movies, you could see so many incongruences and things which will not satisfy you. I'll give you an example. Personally, for me, Avengers Age of Ultron is not as good as the first Avengers, and actually in many respects to me, as a science fiction lover, seems a little bit a step backward, mostly because I love the old connection with the universe, so that planet Earth doesn't feel like confined to itself and to our humanity only. And I get a little bit of sense of that in the Age of Ultron, where they bring back the story on planet Earth, artificial intelligence that wants to take over the world and destroy it, and you get like sort of like cut connection with the universe and all that alien invasion massiveness, coolness that we saw in the first Avengers. So in many respects, I think that it's not superior. Avengers Age of Ultron is not superior to the first one, yet it's a very enjoyable movie. We love our characters that we've grown more and more to love, and that's the reason why we skip and we pass on a lot of the cringiness, a lot of the things that we are not forgiving Captain Marvel, because we are jumping in with such bias and charged passion about political ideology. This is a feminist movie, so all the people irritated by social justice warrior, they're just gonna thumb it down by default, because you get irritated immediately, because you already tackled in your ideology. So it takes so much freedom and openness not to be tainted by those things. And that's what I try to do. I really jumped in, watched the movie, enjoyed it. As a movie lover, I just enjoyed the good part. I was critical of the part that could have been improved. I wish there was a little bit less virtual signaling sometimes, but I also understand why. Those things are also there in other movies, but you just let them pass because, you know, maybe you already have a better relationship with the character. Personally, I get not irritated, but tired after a little bit. I've watched so many movies throughout the decades when they show, for instance, men when they're too macho. You know, that this happens all the time in movies, but you forgive it. As a guy, you forgive it because you want to be that cool, you want to be that guy. But the over macho-ness, it's so much in so many movies that it is cringy in many levels. But we forgive it. We forgive it to so many movies. You know, I give you a classical example, for instance, like John Wick. John Wick is such a badass, but because the movie, it's so much over the top. I mean, it's so much over the top, this character, that it's bad, and everybody's talking of him because it's always good to let other character talk about how badass the main character is. And we see that in full display in John Wick, which is completely over the top, but they know it and it's unapologetic. So in that way, that's why we like it even more. But that actually was the standard of the 80s action era movies that we grown to know, and it was all over the top, you know, in that kind of macho behavior. So and personally, I find it cringy in so many ways when I see male depicted all the time with the same stereotypical, you know, tough dudeness kind of thing. And this is also the reason why a lot of the older action eras movie format it started to fail. You know, like when you see like all the other iteration of Transporters or that kind of movies in that kind of direction, it started to fade. You know, like they have to do it in a way that it's sort of silly and comedic. For example, if you take the Expendables, also they do it in such an unapologetic ways in knowing exactly what they're doing and going full in, that becomes forgivable. But it will not be forgivable if we were supposed to take that action seriously. And that's the good part, when they make it in a way that we know we are not taking those things seriously anymore, because it's been done so much in the 80s that it's just unjustifiable anymore, that you expect me, that kind of toughness and coolness or macho-ness, to be taken seriously. I just can't as a man. So that's why in going back to Captain Marvel, I think the best solution for you is really to go in and enjoy it for what it is. It's a good superhero movie with some flaws and some good moments, but it ties well with the rest of the story. And there is another part. We will see this character fully develop more in Endgame, hopefully doing another part, and it's gonna be, I suppose, enjoyable. I mean, Marvel, you know, in ups and downs, even with Captain Marvel, hasn't done really a bad movie. And all of those movies together, they're pretty good. I would argue actually that the second Ant-Man, it's a little bit weaker than this in many respects. So yeah, watch Captain Marvel, enjoy the good side of it, and let's keep, you know, a little bit like the debate out of science fiction movies, even though probably was their fault to begin with to advertise the movie in that way. But again, also to prove that the world is responding well, I guess that also it's more of a US issue than a worldwide issue, because Captain Marvel is doing amazingly at the box office already, like domestically 150 million plus, and worldwide I guess it's already past 400 million plus, so heading for 500 or something. So it's growing really fast, and I think it's gonna make even more money. So this shows that people are not so busy with, you know, like I'm an extreme leftist, I'm an extreme right. We don't care. We just want to enjoy a good movie, a decent movie, and we want to go watch Endgame without this whole thing, you know, ruining the fun. So this is my thought. I hope you enjoyed it. Share your thoughts as well, and please hit the bell notification so you know it's me, and let's have fun. I actually want to watch it again and get into the movie a little bit more, so to see if I missed any details or whatever. Again, always spread love. I'll catch you later. See you.